Let's get this party started. Well, hello, everybody. It's so good to see you all, and new faces, too. Great to see you. Welcome to the Wisconsin Vintners Association. This is our very first meeting of our new season, so I'm so happy you all made it. And we have a really good program for you for this whole year and even tonight. So I want to have a whole bunch of stuff to share with you, so I need to get started with all that. But before I begin, my name is Cindy Daugherty. I'm the president this year, so got that task. Anyway, but I've got a really good team that works with us that you all voted in last May, and that's our board of directors. So I'd like to introduce those. As I call your name, if you could stand up or raise your hand. Our treasurer is Charles Brown. Charles. Our corresponding secretary is Deanna Page Tritz. She can't make it tonight. Actually, she has a choir meeting. Her choir is going to Italy to do some performances. Isn't that exciting? I know. Our director of membership is Paula Kubrick. Recording secretary, Christine Teen Bain. And our trustees are Valerie Armstrong and Eric Tischer. I don't know that they're here. Yeah, she's auditing. And we have members at large. We have 4 members at large. Mike Smith, Brad Harford, Mike Davidson, and Dave Colpe. And our immediate past president is Jim Remus. So if any of you don't know any of us, give us a hi. You know, introduce yourselves. We'd like to get to know you. Now, Jim, you shouldn't have sat down because I need you to come up here for a minute. So Jim has, he's actually come off a 2-year stint as president. So he is our past president. And as part of that, he's been a mentor to me and really made, you know, a great programs and such available to us over the last couple of years. So in thanks for that, we'd like to present him with a president's glass. It's a special glass that says past president.
Now I can sit down?
Now you can sit down. All right. So I wanted to share with you all the things that have been going on over the summer, because your board has been hard at work to put together a lot of programs for you, as I mentioned before, and also to get things running smoothly. So that was one of my goals, is try to get everything organized so that we can do a lot of the work on the front end so we don't feel like we're scrambling on the back end. And so a lot of the things that we did was, if you've noticed, Team is operating our new video equipment that we got really inexpensive on Prime Day. Let me tell you, saved the club a lot of money on that. But our hopes with that is that we'll be able to video our membership meetings and have it on a private YouTube channel. So we're getting all that set up, and we're very new at this. So, you know, if the sound ain't quite right, or, you know, if the video ain't quite, just know we're new, we're learning. And so other things that we decided on is we've been having some issues with our website, as you guys probably experienced too. And so we just kind of got to that breaking point and decided we need to upgrade our website. So we're in the middle of getting our website revamped, refreshed, and actually completely reworked. And the great thing about that is you'll be able to go in to our library and be able to search by a date or a word and find Vintners Press articles or other resources. You'll be able to go into our gallery and scroll through all the pictures, or by various different activities that we had. And it's also going to allow us to have a really nice store where, you know, you can go in and purchase reservations, or maybe even at dinner dance, if we have auctions, go ahead and buy your item, you know, once you win it, of course, you know, through the auction. And then we'll also have a visible calendar that you'll be able to see everything that we have planned for the whole year out. So maybe you can plan your vacations around that. I mean, don't go on vacations around that. So anyway, part of our technology committee was myself, Deanna Teen, and Val, and Kevin McConville has been one of our advisory folks with our technology committee. Thank you, Kevin. We also have a program committee. We don't have a vice president, so we're all on the board filling in those shoes. And actually, it's made it really easy. So if any of you are interested in being vice president, the work's already been done for you, okay? But we have a program committee. And so a lot of great minds got together and came up with some really neat ideas. And plus, a lot of you have shared some other ideas. So on that program committee are Mike Wendt, Mike Davidson, Paul Hubrick, Jim Remus, Brad Hartford, Charles Brown, Deanna Page-Trich, George Skabronsky, and John Shield. So you've all contributed, and I really thank you for all your hard work and all that front-end work that we did. It's going to make this year go really smoothly. I'd like to just real quickly, for some of you that are new, last year we had some really, really great programs. I'm saying great a lot. Anyway, we had some awesome programs, and some of those were, we had Allie Ketchum for Ketchum Estate Winery speak to us. It was via Zoom, and it was an awesome, awesome meeting. We talked all about Pinot Noir. We had a couple of cases of her Pinot Noir shipped to us, and it was just a really special, special evening. We also had a country wine seminar last year, and we had Barry Cameron from UW-Milwaukee talking about the Terroir project that he's got going on that we've also sponsored. We had a mini components of wine mini course by Dave Colway, very elucidating. Great word, isn't it? Then let's see. Oh, and our label making tips and tricks with our label contest. That was a lot of fun, and everybody had lots of great input and beautiful labels that have been created by our club. And then we kicked off a series that we're starting called Winemaker Mentors, and we started off with Merlot last year. So we had some experts like George Skabronsky share with us, you know, how do you go about making a fine Merlot. This year, we're going to be doing a very similar theme, but later in the year. So upcoming, I would just want to share some of the upcoming things that we have. In October, you may have seen from the newsletter, we're going to have Lisa Kendall from Kendall Farms speaking to us. She's a woman-owned business, and she's also a wine broker. So she's in the know of everything going on in Washington and Oregon and parts of California about wine and where the best grapes are, the different varietals. And so she's going to be sharing her knowledge with us at our next membership meeting next month. That'll be on the 11th. So put it down your calendar, rearrange your vacation, that type of stuff. In November, we have our harvest dinner, and we'll probably have reservations opened up at the beginning of October for that. So our harvest dinner is just a really nice social event where we get together and have a nice meal together and play a few games. In December, our topic is natural and small batch winemaking. So I'm gonna tease you with that because there's more to come, and that'll be presented by our members. In January, our Winemakers Mentors series is on Zinfandel, but it's also, we're going to be having Mark Crumnow and possibly Mike Wendt talk about how to get your wines ready for evaluations and competitions. So that's going to be a really great January meeting. February is our dinner dance, and we are having a dinner dance, by the way. Teen is going to be our chairman for the dinner dance. Very lucky to have her. In March, our topic is going to be grape growing and vine maintenance with Adam Robbie and Charles Brown, and possibly a vineyard workshop that weekend if the weather holds out at Charles's vineyard. It's so exciting. In April is our wine and food pairing that we have over the WCTC. And I'll tell you, seating is limited, and you got to get on those reservations because it is amazing, amazing. They do a wonderful job for us. And then in May, this is another effort by George Skrovansky in procuring us some great speakers like Lisa Kendall. He was able to speak with Steve Johnson from Parallel 44, and we're pretty sure he's going to be speaking in May. It's not final, but pretty sure he's going to be speaking to us in May, and so that's going to be another exciting. And one last thing coming up is we are going to have a bus trip in June. It's probably going to be in the northern parts of Wisconsin, going north, but we will be starting to plan for that later on in the year or early part of next year. Does that sound exciting? I mean, it sounds like a really good year, right? I think it's going to be awesome. Okay, now I do need to share a public service announcement. That's just some guidelines for our meetings. We want you to enjoy the fruits of your labor in moderation. Okay. So just kind of keep that. One of the things we suggest is you pour your own. And if you have some left in your bottle, don't pour it in someone's glass. Bring your cork up, and we have a corker up here. Actually, I've got one in my car, a table corker. And cork your wine so you don't have an open bottle, if you get pulled over, that type of thing. So we just ask you to, moderation, please. Oh, and one last thing. During presentations, could you refrain from side conversations or opening bottles? That's kind of distracting, and also it comes across on the video sort of loud. All right, so that's my public service announcement. I'm mothering you guys, okay? So that's me mothering you. All right, one thing I did want to kind of reiterate, you may have noticed in our newsletters, we've been publishing some of the winners of some of the contests from our club, and it's amazing. We had so many winners from State Fair, award winners, best in class, lots and lots of great wines that were sent to competition from our members, but also in the International Winemakers Magazine contest. We had several people that made submissions and got awards out of there. And most recently in the Kenosha County Fair. How many was that, Kevin? Like 17 out of 28 were from the club? 8 out of 15 award winners were from our club. That's amazing. So I think we have some really, really wonderful winemakers in our club. And then a couple of other things is calling for volunteers. Get involved. I mean, this is a fun club. I've learned so much just by getting to know members, being on the board, just learning from each other. And even if you only have an hour a month or so, just raise your hand. We've got all kinds of fun things. We've got a dinner dance that we're needing to start planning for, and there's all kinds of little things that that you can do. Maybe you have a specialty. Maybe you like making name tags. We need name tags for a lot of our different events. Maybe you're really great at organizing, or maybe you know a lot of folks that like to donate for auctions to charitable type things. Let us know. But yeah, anything is helpful. Just raise your hand. We'd love to have you join us and volunteer. Okay. Oh, and the other thing, so far as volunteering, is Vintners Press articles. So we had the most amazing corresponding secretary that is also quite an author and has been published in Winemakers Magazine many, many times. And Steve Franzoy wrote a lot of or most all of our Vintners Press for the last 7, 8 years. But that doesn't mean that the new corresponding secretary has to write all of Vintners Press. In fact, we'd ask all of you to think about maybe there's something you'd like to share. Maybe it's a process, maybe it's a protocol, or maybe it's just a wine-related trip that you took. And we can make that into a Vintners Press and share that with the rest of our club. So please bring your ideas for that, and we'd love to see your submissions. Then lastly is judging and stewarding. We are always looking for help with our club evaluations and our state fair judging. So stewards and judges, if you're interested in being a judge, starting off as a steward is a great way to see what it's all about, get your feet wet, or get started and be like a secondary judge or a shadow judge at our club evaluations. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so that's enough of me. I'm going to pass this on to Paul Hubrick. He's got some information to share related to our mentoring program. Oh, so thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. Are there any new members that are here for the very first time? Would you mind standing up and just sharing a little bit about yourself? I turned that off.
I'm a new member. I'm Cindy Howell from Cedarburg, Wisconsin. So we've got a lot to learn. We're very anxious to meet all of you and learn all of your little tips to help us along. I'm Stephanie here with my husband Jim. We've been making fruit wine and 8 years. And this is our very first meeting. We haven't met any yet, so we saw flyers from our neighbors. And we're like, hey, let's check it out. So thanks for having us. Looking forward to meeting you. Hi, I'm Rochelle, and I live in Sam, and we've been making wine on and off for, I don't know, a while. Mostly for wine, for we have access in the garden, and we decided to get back to wine. So we have a team check it out. I'm Jean, my husband Mark. We've been dabbling in making wine since we were probably 7 or 8 years ago. So it goes pretty well. We're working on some wines, working with what we grow in our yard, mulberries, raspberries. Yeah, we grow pineapples. Scotch tape, citrus. But we really only know what we've learned on our own ingredient book. So the things are really not.
Hi everyone, my name is Brian Davis from Franklin, Wisconsin. I've been making wine since 2019. Love was great, Bordeaux, Cabernet, all that good stuff. So I'm excited for tips and tricks and for every day. Hi, I'm Andrew. I've been to a lot of discussions and I've been for a while. I've never been meeting. That show up. Brian and our neighbors at one of the meetings a little bit ago. So I've been doing it for about 15 years now.
Well, I encourage each of you to meet somebody that's not. Say hi to your members and guests and make them welcome. And if there's somebody that's on the board that you don't know, come up and say hi to them. We're unified hard. Okay, so
Just a couple of real quick things. One, are you just kind of finish going through the Insight class? And purge the old members that aren't around anymore and bring in all the new members and all that. So if anybody had any problems, let me know if tag was missing or
I know one or two, like Steve he still has his old title on there. I thought I had corrected that, but I guess not. So anyway, let me know if there's any problems with that. Also, as Cindy had indicated, we're trying to improve the membership experience for new members that are coming in, and particularly those that may not have a lot of experience in winemaking and trying to get into it, and sometimes that learning curve can be kind of steep. So what we're trying to do is put together a little bit of sort of a mentorship program and try to connect possibly new members that don't have a lot of experience, or even if you're more experienced but you have specific problems that you're having, and trying to connect them with individual members that we have that have experience in those areas and might be able to help you out, even if it's by phone or by email or whatever mode of communication that we can do that'll help take care of that. So if there's any new members or members that have some questions or think they could use some help on some things from somebody with a little bit more experience and would be interested in kind of having a little bit of a one-on-one conversation that might improve your winemaking, let me know. And anybody that is interested, that's more experienced and would be interested in serving in sort of a mentorship role and working with new members a little bit to help them on some specific issues that they might have as they go along their journey on becoming better winemakers. Let me know that as well, so we can kind of get a list of people that are interested and willing to help out some new people that are less experienced, and we'll try to connect those people together, and hopefully everybody will have a better experience with the club as a result. So again, anybody that's interested on either end of that scale, let me know so I can get the names down and start putting a list together. So that's all I had.
Jim, would you mind coming to the front, please?
Oh, I need this guy. Okay.
Okay, and then
So I don't need, I need them both? Okay. Oh, that's too loud. All right. Well, first off, it's been a long time that I've been waiting to thank somebody for their service, but they've been traveling to Europe. As president, and they were transitioning away from the board, I wanted to thank Steve for his 10 years of service, and as the outgoing president, I couldn't do that because he was gone. And now he's here. Since May, he made one thing, which was the April food and wine pairing. Other than that, he had a very important meeting with a new grandchild. So he kept going over there in France and spending his time there. And so I just wanted to thank him as an outgoing president. There you go. And overall, just a minute, I got my notes here. And I forgot the notes for the presentation. So, okay. I think that's pretty much.
you're not done, Jim.
Oh, wait a minute. I must be, let's see here, what do I got here? No, I'm missing that. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm not done. Every once in a while, we have somebody that has done a lot for this club, and I'm very forgetful. And so thank you, Cindy, for reminding me about doing this, because I've been waiting since May, I think it was. And for all his work, on the Vintners Press and our newsletter, I'm elevating Steve Franzoy, who did not renew his membership this year, to life member. No, according to membership, Paul said no, and that I had forgotten and left your name on a discussion email so that you knew. But since 2006, he has been, he joined the club and became an integral part of this club in 2006. Steve started coming to meetings and started becoming interested in grapes and passing on his knowledge of the European grapes and coordinating some of the buys that we had through them. In 2013, Steve became corresponding secretary and changing our 2 to 3 page, just simple letter format newsletter to a book, a booklet kind of newsletter. It was really nice. I'm going to just briefly go through this because he's had a lot of accomplishments for this. And I've got 2 pages of stuff. He didn't know it, but I interviewed him. He's been written up in the Winemaker magazine, a minimum of 3 times that we could remember, but he had 4 articles given to them. And I'll go along with that. One was on making Amarone style wine, which he did from beginning to end, and he did a presentation for us. Then there was an article on using bourbon barrel and on how to clean a bourbon barrel. And that all came out from when the bourbon barrel broker moved into Menominee Falls and we started buying barrels. And he he did another presentation on that, beginning to end, from cleaning the barrel to bringing in the wine. And the wine was very good. Then there was an article on orange wine, which is white wine grown, fermented with the skins. And this all went up into Winemaker magazine. Then there was the unpublished article on subjective judging that Winemaker magazine, as I'm going to put it in my own words, didn't particularly like the article. They didn't want to put it out there, but made all the judges read it. And so, as a retired emeritus, I forgot your entire title. After heart surgery, my brain doesn't work. Professor of psychology from Marquette. He did the research to find out, after about 6 or 7 months worth of researching, finding out that we are the second longest running, but we are the largest running club in the country. And there's a lot that says a lot for this being a winemaking club. He has also had articles written in the now closed Midwest Press, and which is a monthly publication on everything about American hybrid grapes from the field to the wine. He also ran a blog with a vintner and his daughter, which ran about 5 years and is now resting on vacation for a while, at least the past 4 years as to when I wrote this, but maybe by 5 by now. Seldom missed board meetings. Even when he was out in vacation and in Florida, he joined us. Just a day or 2 out of outpatient surgery, he joined us via Zoom, but he was there. And I think he was on a bunch of opiates at one time, because he was talkative. Still ongoing, Steve is still lecturing. As I was typing this up, he was preparing for a lecture with the University of Pennsylvania. I think it was University of Pennsylvania, through a continuing lecturing series, learning series. And he was putting that together. As I was talking to him, he was getting ready to do that night, if you remember that. So, yeah, well, yeah, we were just shooting the shit, but I was taking a lot of notes. So, yeah, come on up here. So here is your plaque.
No.
Thank you for all your dedication and all of your hard work. And he's a great writer, too. We need a picture. Go ahead.
I did not expect this, and I just want to say that I love writing, and so it was a real joy writing the articles, and I actually became correspondence secretary like in the summer of 2012, and through a lot of the time, Cheryl and I would be at the hospital. She was going through cancer treatments, and writing the Vintners Press articles and the newsletter was something that, I would be doing while she was getting chemo treatments.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention Cheryl. There was a team effort between you and Cheryl.
Well, but it was a godsend to actually have that to focus on. So, yeah, thanks.
Hey, don't get emotional on us.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
All right, so now, you're just gonna go into that?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think you're done.
okay.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm done with you.
You're dismissed, Jim.
Okay.
Okay. Can you guys hear back there with this? This one works, right? Can y'all hear back there? Okay. Mike Wendt is going to be our MC for our tips and tricks. So, Mr. Wendt.
Mr. Wendt.
Mr. Wendt.
Good evening, everybody. We are going to be doing these tips and tricks with several different winemakers that will be coming up and speaking. The goal is to give you a lot of different ideas and to move along quickly because we have, about 8 speakers or so. We encourage questions, and I'll be kind of making sure things move along. The goal is 5, maybe 10 minutes, but I'll kind of show you how it works. So I'm going to be starting with some tips and tricks that I have. And so, again, if you have questions, make sure that you ask while we're on the subject. So if somebody starts a timer, let's see how long it takes me. All right? I just had a couple of things that I thought help for wine organization and a winery. One is to find a case, an old bookshelf that holds about the size of a box of wine, and it makes a very quick wine storage cabinet. This one I just got on Facebook Marketplace for free, and it holds, I think I've got 12 cases of wine. Each box is a different red wine. So just an idea for quick storage of wine bottles. You don't have to make anything fancy. Just stuff the box right in there sideways. So.
Foam pads.
Oh, yeah. And then another thing I do is if you look at the floor, I have the floor of my whole winery covered with these interlocking foam pads. So if you drop a bottle or you drop a carboy, they tend to bounce. This seems to be, oh, there we go. So, so that's a nice thing to have on the floor. I have not lost many bottles at all on the from dropping them. Another thing that I do that I'm sure will raise a lot of eyebrows is I bottle about 1/3 to 1/4 of my wine in reusable screw caps. Some of you are kind of cringing, thinking, "Isn't that going to oxidize?" Well, I've got a 2021 cranberry here that's been in the bottle for at least 1.5 years, so we can try that later. But the nice thing about this, is that there's a little sediment in your bottles after you cork them. You can always, I fill these right up to the top, and you can siphon them off into a clear bottle with all the sediment on the bottom. They store in these cabinets, as you see here, upright, so all the sediment stays down. So it's a really quick way to have an absolutely clear bottle, especially for when I'm putting them in the competition. And then one other last thing I do, this didn't turn out very colorful, but I stick a circular sticker on the end of the bottle, as you can kind of see here. But all the cork bottles have this little sticker on them, so when you slide them into the cabinet, you know exactly what they are. It's very quick. You can figure out what the wine is in a very short time. And then the year is on there, so you can rotate and get out the other ones, or get the old ones out. Okay? So that's how'd I do? Under 5 minutes?
I don't know. We weren't watching.
Good. All right, so that's a goal. Any questions? Okay, the next speaker is Jim. Yeah. We should have a little bell somewhere, ding ding.
Let's try this one here. Okay. All right. Couple of things. I did this a few years back, but it starts out with we all got, or a lot of us have buckets that we bought juice from. Here's the bottom of a bucket. When they get old, what do you do with them? Well, I make all sorts of shit from them. Oh, so, excuse me there. I made tops for bird houses, bird feeders, and this one is holding my carboy holder, which is a great thing because it'll hold the carboy pretty darn. I've bumped into it, it didn't fall over. Goes right in there. The lid goes right in there, so you're not draining onto your floor. Works really good. Although I washed this one up today because I hadn't washed it in about 1 year or two, so it looked kind of gruddy. So that's that one. The other one is a very simple arbor. I'm cheap. I make my own wine. I don't know if any of you do, but I make my own. And I use a lot of these little rubber corks. But what do you do when they start to get a little crusty? As well, from my boys who we used to run slot cars, in a slot car club, I created an arbor, and as soon as I can get this thing spinning, I can resurface that in a matter of a few seconds on a portable drill. So it goes really fast. I'm not going to do that here, but it's quick. I usually use something like 150 grit sandpaper. It only takes seconds, and I got a new surface, and it fits. The other thing that came up was that every once in a while, these rubber corks or silicone, I don't even know what they're made out of, will slip up in the carboy. It's not because they're dirty. It's not, well, yeah, they are dirty. They got oils on them, and the oil is in the carboy. When I was in my 10 years of working at the Purple Foot, we told them, wash your carboy. Get some dish soap, wash your carboy, and pay attention to the thing. To the top, that's what's going on. There's a little oil from your skin on there, and it's pushing it up. It doesn't have nothing to do with the surface, but that's that. The other thing that's got going on is I'm also a woodworker, and in the way of arbors, I'm building something for my bandsaw. And here's another arbor that I made. All I got to do is get this thing spinning, and I can resurface this. It's just a spacer for my bandsaw blade. And so there we go. I'm done. Oh, wait a minute. What else? Oh my God, the screen. Oh yeah, okay. Oh yeah, I bought that. As and here it is. Forgot about that. Any of you that use the splits, the smaller bottles, I use a lot of the 750s, but when I get to a split for something, it doesn't fit the floor corker correctly. And I found out in doing maintenance, I kind of looked at it and I needed 1.5 inches to raise something. So there's 1.5 inches board in the middle. And with the way that Milwaukee arbors are made, I can drill holes from different sides and get it perfectly aligned so that this can sit right on the corker, and the bottle is at the right height and it's perfectly centered. And I can build them in a matter of a few hours. So if anybody wants one, you got to ask. But it's just a simple bunch of scrap wood, and I build it out of pine. I did this one years and years ago, and I built a few of those for others. And I think I'm done now.
Prize. Okay. You know what my wife and I have learned over the years of trying to apply paper onto a bottle and making it stick. So we've used wallpaper paste, spray adhesive. I've even heard of people using milk, where they put the milk right on the paper, stick it on. Some of your papers with the inks from your copy machines may run, they may rub off. Keep searching for that right paper. I've heard of one paper you get from Amazon, I believe. You can put your label on there and you can rinse it off and it dissolves the paper off. So the cleaning off all the adhesive, the wallpaper paste is extremely simple now. So that's our tip. Oh yeah, the oak barrel. Right now we've got 2 oak barrels. They're probably 5 or 6 years old. I'm still using them. I have to constantly refill them with wine after I flush them out, clean them out. And I'll throw in 2 cups of oak chips in there. And every 2 weeks, a month, I keep topping it off. And then when I feel that it gets to the right flavor, which is about 6 months, bottle it up and go. And I always have the next carboy ready to go. And I repeat the process. So, because I looked into a price for a 7-gallon Hungarian oak bottle or barrel, like $320 for a brand new one now. The other one's brand new. They go about $245 to $345 for the American oak or the French oak. So just reusing your barrel, but you have to keep them wet. If you don't, they dry out, and then you try and use them again, and they leak out all over the place. So if you have lots of carboys to run through, do it. And it also helps to concentrate your grapes because of the evaporation or that so-called angel effect that's in everyone's basement. So that'll do. Yep. Or this.
So here, turn that one off. I try to, is this working?
Yes.
I try to recycle bottles as much as I can, unless I can find a great sale on new bottles, which I actually prefer, because I dislike cleaning and removing bottles as much as I dislike pressing grapes, because it's just a terrible cleanup job afterwards. Well, anyway, my method is I'll take the bottles, I put them in, I have a double-sized laundry tub. I'll put the bottles in hot water. I add a couple of tablespoons of this PBW or powdered brewer's wash, and then I'll put a squirt or two of a rinse aid in there, either OxyClean or any one of them. And usually in a few hours, you could labor at the bottles if you want to, but I found out best to wait a day. If you can, wait 2 days. And it's amazing how on commercial bottles, most labels will come off. And I use a single edge razor blade like you scrape windows with after you paint. Just got to be careful how you hold the bottle, but you're able to get those bottles off, the labels off extremely quickly. But the thing that has frustrated me is that some of the wineries must be a chemically based adhesive, and no matter how much you scrape, you're not going to get off that little visual of adhesive. So you could put your new label over it, but I've tried alcohol, tried fingernail polish remover, mineral spirits, none of that gets it off. Until doing an internet search about a month ago, somebody mentioned using lighter fluid. So I tried it. I happen to have a can of Zippo lighter fluid in the basement. Sure enough, it worked perfectly. So that problem is solved. And because those bottles, sometimes you get enough of the adhesive off that the bottle still looks good. But I'm kind of fussy on labeling and packaging, and I want my product to look as good as it can. So I think that's that. I want to just make one more comment on bottles. So one of my pet peeves in the industry is that many of the wineries, you know what a claret style bottle is, right? It's just straight. Many of the wineries have gone to what I call a high shoulder bottle, in that the top of the bottle is just a little bit wider than the bottom. Those bottles you cannot stack into an open cubicle rack, because they'll be doing that after you get 2 or 3 layers in them. So the solution to that kind of bottle is a trash can.
I have them both.
This is a good
Turn
one.
it on. Yeah, they both are.
Okay, first thing I should say is I sin real badly. As an example, my sweetie in the back row gave me a wine press from the Wine and Hops shop once, and I said, why would I want a press from Wine and Hops? Why don't I just make my own? By the way, that one was written up and put in Winemaker magazine, maybe 2016, 2017. Again, I sin. If I can do it myself, I will. Another example is going to be, next slide, whatever it is. Next example is going to be a racking setup. You can use PEX tubing and make whatever shape you want. And another thing that I do is I join everything together with silicone. And anybody that would like a 2-inch piece of silicone, I brought a roll of it and a scissors, and then just come up in front and I'll give you some. Okay, what's next? The best that I have found for
All right.
Yeah, David?
A steam juicer for your crab apples. I use a steam juicer all the time. So I just steam juiced a bunch of rhubarb and elderberry. So it saves me a lot of mess. Did I put that on here? No, I didn't. Anyway, it saves me a lot of mess with all those little bitty seeds and cranberries and strawberries. So I don't have all those little bitty seeds to deal with. I hate that. So some of my suggestions, you probably all know, freeze your fruit. You extract a whole bunch more juice out of it that way. I cover everything before I press with newspapers because I don't mind cleaning, but I'd rather not, you know, and so that way I can, you know, put it all up and throw it away. I age and ferment my wines before bottling in an upstairs kitchen, so it's got a lot of light, and so I use towels to shroud my my carboys. And people come over and say, "Hey, is that to keep your carboys warm and cozy?" I'm like, "It does look like a koozie, right? But it's not. It's really to keep the light out. But it can help to retain temperature too. So sometimes I let it get a little bit cooler upstairs or a little bit warmer, and so the towel is a little bit more insulation. Just like bubble wrap can make a nice insulation for your carboy. And I learned this from Dale LeBecki, is using the coolers, camping coolers, especially for fermenting white wines, and that way you can slip like a frozen water bottle or even fill up some super cold water, and it'll help retain that, and you can maintain that temperature better. I got a little thermometer that I stick down in there so I can try to keep the temperature lower when I'm doing whites. I use pipe cleaners and very small brushes to clean out my my airlocks or anything really small. I got a really cool brush I bought a Baster, and it must have been a real fancy one because it came with its own really long brush. And so it's got a head on it that goes from, I don't know, 1.5 inches down to a very small. And so I can get down in all kinds of nooks and crannies. I've even bought
Music stores also sell.
little brushes to clean out instruments and stuff. Yeah, that's great. And then I use paint strainer. Bags. I do have fruit bags intended for fermenting, but I also use paint strainer bags, and I'll tie it off with a piece of string or a rubber band. Yes, I have done that. I haven't noticed any taint in my wines, but I find that they clean better. They clean better than the fruit bags, in my opinion. So. And that's all I have. Thank you.
So Steve Hesper, one of our members, sent in quite a few tips, and I'm just going to read them quickly here. If you need a bigger primary fermenter, use the Grey Brute buckets. Food grade, durable, stackable, reasonable at most big box stores. And protect your carboys using milk crates. Also drain bottles and carboys in them. Or neck handles are useful for empty bottle or empty carboys. I wouldn't advise using that handle for a full carboy. Use carboy cleaners. He recommends OxyClean, but make sure that you get the one with the green top, not the yellow. It is scent-free and is an excellent cleaning solution, according to Steve. The carboy cleaner is this, I guess, commercial, drill-mounted rag. I haven't had a lot of luck with those. I use a brush, but that's what Steve recommends. He also has something he calls his corkador for corks and wine filters. So what he does is, instead of getting his corks wet, he puts a solution of a sulfite solution in a container, and he closes up the bucket. It's the gas that apparently does the sanitation. So the corks don't get wet, but they're sanitized before they're actually put into the bottles. And he does the same thing with the stops. So, and then Mike is going to have a live demo. We'll see how it works about getting a cork out of a bottle that's stuck in a bottle. So,
It's going to be hard for me to hold this because I'm going to have to
Oh,
use my hand.
I will tell you what. I'll hold this for you while
All
you
right.
talk. Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna stand right here. So you got your bottle.
Yes, right over here.
Kind of
Okay.
need that for the
Yeah.
demo.
Okay. Since he's got to hold the microphone, I've got to use my hands here. I don't know if anyone's ever had this problem, but I've got a cork stuck in a bottle. And I'm not sure exactly how that happened. I don't know if it was kind of soaked or something, or when I tried, actually putting in my corkscrew to take this thing out, but it's just shot right in there. I still had wine in it. I was able to get the wine out, thankfully. But this actually, it's just, I was almost going to just throw this away. I was like, how do I ever get that out of there? And so I set it aside, and it's been sitting kind of in my basement for maybe a month and a half, 2 months, something like that. So the cork is very dry. Okay, so that's a good thing. So we happened to be in one of our meetings this past week talking about, what we're going to present. And Cindy, I think it was, happened to mention something about, she saw this thing online that tells you how to get a cork out of a bottle. And she's like, anyone want to do this? And right away I'm like, okay, I've got one. I've got one at home. So this would probably be a good thing for me to do. So it's going to be very simple, actually. And I have not practice this. This is going to be a dry run, and if this is, it's going to work or it's not going to work, so we'll find out. But anyway, so I've got the bottle here, and all you do is you've got a plastic bag. I've got an old bread bag here. So what you have to do is take the closed end of the bread bag, leave the open end here, and twist it around. And you're just going to twist it as much as you can because you got to feed this down inside of the bottle. So if I can get this all the way, you're not going to put it all the way in. You're going to leave just the top of the bag on top here, because what you're going to have to do is actually blow into it and put a little air into it and inflate the bag a little bit. And then I'll show you that in a minute. I did that part of it. I blew into it, it inflated, so that worked. But I didn't go any further because I didn't want to ruin my prop here. So once you've got the bag in there, now you've got the cork, and it's kind of down along the side here. You want to kind of near the neck. So what I'm going to do, well, let me first blow this up a little bit. I'll get it. Well, you're probably right. You want to get that cork down there. Okay. So, I told you, this is a dry run. Let's do it again. Apparently, you have to blow it while it's up in the air, okay? This is going to be a real challenge. I know, yeah. Especially for me.
Yeah, you only get 5 minutes here.
Yeah, right, I know.
Okay,
Because-
with that, no, I'm just kidding. I'm
Because if this doesn't work, I'll never be asked up here again. So I just okay. So we got to get. Where is it stuck? I've got it stuck in the bag here now. So let's move it down. This is a piece of cake, actually. On the video on the internet. Well, that's true. It was edited, I'm sure. So
It's okay, I'll edit this part out.
it's caught on the bottom of the. Okay, let's do this one more time. Third time is a charm.
we give you a lot of credit. A lot of credit.
Well, she said 5 minutes. I'm trying to, use up all of my 5 minutes of fame here. So. Okay, let's get this down around the side first. Okay, there we got it
That's
down there.
looking
Now we got it down there. Okay, that's good. I'm not sure how much of this bag I'm going to need, but I think I'm not going to give it much more. Okay, here we go. Okay. Here we go. Do we have a drum roll here or something? Come on. Maybe I have too much air in here. I have a feeling the bag's going to break before the cork gets out. Oh! Well, okay. Yeah. Got another, anyone have another bag? We could try this again. If anyone does try this and it does work, please let me know. Okay? I probably need to get a better bag.
We had that done about 10 years ago with Steve.
Yeah, and it worked.
And it worked. There was a second try. Oh. The first try didn't go. And then it only worked better if that cork was left.
Yeah, right.
I say just drop that bottle off at Cesar's house. He'll take care of it. Right. Hey, I know what, I guess I'm the last guy up. We've been running a while here, and Mike's kind of pushing people along. I was going to go off script with a couple things. I'm going to go off script with one, however, only because my wife was asking me why the heck I was bringing this into the Okay, might look familiar. I agree with everything you said, but I would add one more thing to that. If you're doing your wine gig in the basement on a concrete floor, don't put your carboys on the concrete. Certainly don't drop them, but even putting them on a concrete floor, you're going to scratch them. And that's the kiss of death that's going to eventually degrade them. So this topic here comes back to the program that we did last year. I didn't have any labels in there. This is a real simple label. But the topic came up about putting specs for your wines on the label so that people, when in this setting, would ask you about it, you could answer questions. And I raised my hand and I asked, well, do you put ABV equals this, pH equals that, etc.? And the question really wasn't understood, because what I was getting at is that all those numbers, the bottom line on this label, except for the % sign in there, all of the numbers that we measure and so forth, whether it's alcohol, final specific gravity, pH, TA, they're generally unique in the way they're written. Okay, you won't, 11, well, maybe you got a TA that's 11 grams per liter, but the % kind of identifies it. So you can put it on there in a rather condensed format and then be able to explain it in this kind of setting. It's not something that somebody that's not familiar with winemaking is going to know much about what those are. You could put the yeast in there as well, but you don't have to say yeast equals QA23. You can just kind of put those in there for conversation. Next slide. That is this one. Excuse me. Okay, yeah, that's actually this might work a little better because I got a little show and tell here. And No, I'm just gonna talk. This is Steve Helsper used to, and I think he still may sell a spray bottle sanitizer that's based on a pressure switch. He'd attach it to a bucket. I think he was using sulfite in his, which seems to make the situation a little bit smelly. But you can do the same thing with what is essentially just a pool cover pump. I spent a little bit of time looking at what are some sources for some of these kinds of things. I'll put them on here. So you can see that the ingredients here, or the materials, are really relatively simple and cheap. I use Star San. Okay. And this switch that I have here is a momentary switch that if I let it go, it stops for obvious reasons, okay? The other plug I wanted to make is for foaming cleaners or sanitizers. You know, I got the bottle rinser right there. You'll get this out of here pretty quickly with a bottle rinser. But part of sanitizing isn't just the sanitizer, it's contact time. And you can see right up into the neck, you got contact time with those bubbles up in there. Okay. Now, Mike, I think this might be your bottle. I heard a rumor that you'd like those back.
You can actually use that for your
It's
best
clean.
wines.
It's clean. Okay, so that's just a sanitizing station, and that pump is, you know, you can find them on Amazon for that price range. Next slide. This has to do with temperature control. I know some people have. One brand is Inkbird, as Dave had mentioned. I've made several of these kind of breadboard things here with a sensor, cut an extension cord. You can control this mat right here is actually a reptile warming thing. Okay, you've seen that? Okay. This is about 7 watts. You probably don't want it more than about 15, because if you put insulation around it, you don't want it to get too warm. But you know, a lot of fermentations, even up in my basement 70 right now, I gotta get it up there pushing 80 to get that fermentation started. But I've got a conical fermenter with tape. You can put it on there. Put the sensor on the opposite side of the bucket, because you don't want it to be influenced directly by this thing. And what you'll find is if you don't even have that insulation on it, this sets up a convective flow inside that bucket. You know, the hot part's going to rise. Next one. I also use it for cooling. I've got another one in a box. If you order these things, make sure you order the degrees Fahrenheit version. Yeah, Jim. Okay. We can try that again.
Oh, I added new batteries.
Okay.
I had batteries in my backpack.
Wow.
Okay, this is it on? There, let's try that. Okay. This setup is just for cooling. I happen to have a couple of freezers in the basement. One has been changed around to what brewers often call a creaser, if I'm not mistaken, a combination freezer and kegerator. Thus the wood, shimming it up on the top, gives you a little more headroom for things that go inside. And then this is set in the 50-degree range. You know, again, the other suggestion I would say is always tape the sensor to the side of your vessel. Don't just leave it hanging in space. It's going to have much more stable temperature control. Okay, but cold stabilization is easy. Cool fermentations. I've done a cold stabilization in my garage, and I had a slushy. I could see putting I haven't done it, but I could see putting a heater on there just so it doesn't get cold beyond a certain point. We've seen that.
John, what temperature did it become a slushy?
That was a rather uncontrolled situation. I
Okay,
really couldn't tell you.
So you don't know how cold it got before you got
outside?
a slushy? Just curious, I do cold stabilization. Does anybody know? Usually I don't go below 25.
Yeah, I would agree that's what you want to have. I wasn't measuring the vessel itself. I know outside it was probably in single digits, I was hopeful that the garage was kind of going to moderate that. And it didn't freeze, it just got slushy.
So,
Sure. Okay. Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I want my airlock. I pull out the airlock's freezing. They're out of there.
actually, in the airlocks, I use vodka so it doesn't freeze.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, because that'll freeze before the wine will, right?
Yes,
So, but
exactly.
okay, I just wondered what everybody else did.
It's kind of a canary in the coal mine.
Yeah.
Well, but water's going to freeze at 32, and you'd like to get it lower than that. I usually go for about 25, 26 when I'm doing this. Okay, next one. And okay. Yeah, temperature controllers. Again, I put some resources here for getting some of these kinds of things. That reptile heater on the left side, you can see that. And on the right, the lower ones, what I bought those when they were about 15 bucks or less, and I probably have 4 or 5 of them. And that stuff up above, we're cheap guys in the hobby that we have. That stuff was like $100. Interestingly, when I went shopping just the other day online, the price on these other things has come down quite a bit. Sure. Yeah. And that one on top for 35 bucks, you can have it Wi-Fi connected, and you can see your temperature and control it from absolutely anywhere. Okay, so I was initially going to say, hey, I could offer to make some of these things for people, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to point you to those two on the top because it's a whole lot easier these days. So those are some of the resources for that. And you guys are probably all doing something of that nature. But this is one way to do it. Next slide.
Okay, that's it. Okay.
That was it. Oh, I do have one thing, and it's tied to the label issue. Well, yeah, if you could hold that.
I can hold it.
Okay, you hold that. And after that, the label presentation that you guys did last year, I was looking for some different materials, and I found some that's absolutely self-adhesive and water-soluble. It just, for taking it off, it's gone. Just dip it in water, and that was in there for plenty of time, for 10 seconds. So, see me, I'll try to remember at the next meeting to bring some of that if people want to sample that. But again, Amazon's a great resource. Just look water-soluble label paper, and it's that easy. So thank you.
Thank you, John. I noticed that the bottle you gave me didn't have the wine in it, but
No, yeah.
Okay, does anybody else have any tips that they'd like to ask or share?
I have a question of Hellspring, of sorts. He had OxyClean on there, and I've always understood that OxyClean, the unscented, without bleach, is the same stuff as one-step sanitizer. Anybody heard that? Okay. Yeah, because here's the dilemma when you talk to the retailers. He uses it for cleaning. The one-step is advertised for sanitizing. And in fact, if you go to the retailer, he says, "Oh, you can't clean with that. You need this other product I'm going to sell you for 30 bucks." Okay, and that's really something I've seen for about 5 years, and I agree with Steve that cleaner is certainly suitable for cleaning. We use it in the laundry room, and if it's with slight difference, the same thing that we're using as a sanitizer, I really don't see much difference. Just an opinion.
Okay, anything else?
Okay, I just have a very simple thing, and it's kind of something that I found when I was kind of in an emergency. I needed to have clean some carboys, I needed to pump it out. 24 packs of water sitting around. They work great for holding carboy because you just pop out, depending on the size of the carboy, if you have a big one, you pop out one of the little bottles, you set your carboy on there, obviously put something on the drink. But then also, I mean, if you take out one on each side, you can probably hold like a couple of 3 gallon carboy too. So it's just a quick little thing. I was desperately looking for a place to buy a carboy, and it worked for me. So you can do 5, 6 gallon ones on there, no problem.
Thanks, Mike. Anything else? Anybody else? Yeah.
I know I'm new, but there's a place called Online Labels, and labels are really inexpensive and very cheap. And you can also get laser inkjet, and they also make ones that are waterproof and come clean, so they'll pull it off. So you don't have to go. You have to have a special printer. You can just put what you use or what you have available, but the labels come right off, and then they do it. They don't show.
What's the name?
OnlineLabels.com.
OnlineLabels.com.
All different sizes.
Anything else?
So we saw the heating unit there for I kind of came on something where I know probably steam pads, but there's a couple of steam pads that I have on like 17 ones now that they're a lot larger, but you have to run them a lot further, and they have a lot more variable temperature on them. And one nice thing is they have that say or heat say count with you. So buy some heat pads.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. Yeah, I used just a heating pad. Yeah, and I've used it in the past, just a heating pad that you might have throw on your back pain or something like that. And for insulation, they throw a dust on it, around it, and then towels on top of it, and then you got to use whatever you got. But that's
And there's a couple of new ones that have there's 6 different levels. You can everyone control if it's low or high.
Well, I agree, but that's the heating intensity. It doesn't shut it off when it's a certain temperature. Otherwise, so yeah, there's different elements to the control. Sure.
So it's also use cooling mats for their water pump, and they make them now for their own temperature. So for growing plants, so seedling mats
Oh, seedling.
come a little bit bigger and they're waterproof, and some of them come with temperature control.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to turn it back to Cindy.
All I'm going to do is say this meeting's a wrap. Let's drink some wine.